The morning sunlight spilled through the dusty window of their small apartment, painting golden streaks across the floor. Maya stood before the cracked mirror, tying her hair into a neat bun while keeping an eye on her 5-year-old son, Ethan, who sat on the couch with his toy car. Her stomach twisted with anxiety, but she tried to smile. Today was her big chance, an interview at Carter Enterprises, one of the city's top companies. She had spent the entire night preparing her resume, ironing her clothes, and rehearsing her introduction. Everything was ready, until her phone buzzed with a message that shattered her calm. "Sorry, Maya, I can't make it today. My daughter's sick." It was her babysitter. Maya froze. She read the message again, hoping she had misunderstood, but the words stayed the same. Her eyes flicked to Ethan, who was humming quietly to himself, innocent and unaware of her panic. She closed her eyes and took a deep breath. Missing this interview wasn't an option. Rent was overdue, and her savings were nearly gone. This job could change everything. She knelt beside Ethan and spoke softly. "Hey, sweetheart, how would you like to come with mommy to her interview? You'll be my lucky charm." Ethan looked up, eyes wide. "Can I wear my superhero cape?" Maya smiled faintly. "Maybe just the shirt today, okay." 20 minutes later, they were on the bus, Ethan clutching her hand tightly. Maya's neatly pressed blazer clashed with the exhaustion in her eyes, but she sat tall, trying to look confident. The bus jostled through morning traffic, and Maya rehearsed her answers under her breath. Strengths, experience, why she left her previous job. Ethan swung his legs, occasionally leaning on her shoulder. Despite everything, she felt a flicker of pride. No matter how hard things got, they still had each other. When they arrived at the towering glass building of Carter Enterprises, Maya's nerves spiked. The lobby gleamed with marble floors and polished metal. Professionals in sharp suits moved briskly through the space. Maya's heels clicked against the floor as she approached the front desk, Ethan holding her hand. The receptionist's eyes dropped to the child, then flicked back to Maya with a polite but puzzled look. "I'm here for the 10:30 interview. Maya Taylor," she said, voice steady. The receptionist's smile stiffened. "Of course. Please take a seat." Maya led Ethan to a leather chair and sat down. She glanced around. The other candidates were all adults, composed and polished. A few side glances followed, whispers exchanged. She heard one woman mutter, "Who brings a kid to a job interview?" Her cheeks burned, but she kept her chin up. Ethan looked up at her and whispered, "Mommy, are they mad at us?" She shook her head. "No, baby, they just don't understand." Finally, a tall woman in a gray suit appeared. "Maya Taylor." Maya stood quickly, smoothing her clothes. "Yes, that's me." The HR manager's gaze fell on Ethan, then narrowed. "And who's this?" "My son, Ethan." There was an emergency with my sitter, but he'll sit quietly, I promise." The woman frowned. "We expect professionalism, Ms. Taylor. This isn't appropriate." "I understand, and I apologize," Maya said quickly. "I didn't want to miss this opportunity. Please, just a few minutes of your time." The manager sighed, clearly irritated. "Fine, come in." In the interview room, Maya tried to focus, but her heart raced. The HR manager's expression stayed cold as she scanned the resume. "You left your last job 2 years ago." "Why?" "My husband passed away," Maya replied softly. "I had to take some time to adjust and raise my son." "I see," the HR said, unimpressed. "And you think you can manage this position while handling all that?" The words cut deep, but Maya forced a steady voice. "Yes, I can handle pressure, deadlines, and challenges. I've done it all my life." Before she could finish, the HR stood up. "That's all. We'll be in touch." Maya sat frozen. The rejection was clear. She gathered her things, forcing a smile for Ethan. "Come on, sweetheart." As they stepped out, Ethan tugged her hand. "Did you get the job, Mommy?" She swallowed hard. "Not yet, baby, but we don't give up, right?" He nodded, his small hand gripping hers tighter. Together, they walked toward the elevator, her heart heavy but her spirit refusing to break. The elevator doors slid open with a soft chime, and Maya stepped inside with Ethan, her heart pounding in her chest. The polished steel walls reflected her tired face back at her, eyes dim with disappointment but holding on to a fragile thread of hope. Ethan leaned against her leg, his little hands clutching the edges of her bag. She tried to smile for him, to mask the sting of humiliation that still burned from the interview. As the elevator descended, her mind replayed every moment. The HR manager's cold tone, the disapproving looks from others, and that final, dismissive, "We'll be in touch." She had faced rejection before, but this one cut deeper. She wasn't just fighting for a job, she was fighting for her son's future. When the elevator stopped on the lobby floor, Maya stepped out, adjusting her blazer and taking Ethan's hand. She told herself to stay strong, to hold her head high even if the world wanted to look down on her. But just as they reached the glass doors, her resume slipped from her hand and floated to the floor like a fallen leaf. Before she could bend down, a hand reached for it, a man's hand, strong yet gentle. "Here, let me help you," came a calm, deep voice. Maya looked up and saw a tall man in a navy blue suit. His presence radiated quiet authority, and his kind eyes seemed to study her for a moment longer than necessary. He handed her the papers, a faint smile curving his lips. "Thank you," Maya said softly, trying to keep her composure. He noticed the smudged corners of the resume, the way her hands trembled slightly. "Tough morning?" he asked kindly. She hesitated, unsure how to respond. "You could say that," she said finally, glancing down at Ethan. "We had a bit of a situation." The man's eyes softened when he saw the boy hiding slightly behind her leg. "And who's this young man?" Ethan peeked out shyly. "I'm Ethan." "Well, Ethan," the man said with a warm smile, crouching down to his level, "that's a very strong name. Are you helping your mom today?" Ethan nodded seriously. "I'm her lucky charm." The man chuckled softly. "I can tell." He straightened up and looked at Maya again. "If you don't mind me asking, were you here for an interview?" Maya blinked, unsure whether to answer honestly. But something about his tone, genuine, curious, not judging, made her speak. "Yes, I was. But it didn't exactly go well. They weren't very happy that I brought him with me." He nodded slowly, his expression thoughtful. "Sometimes, people mistake responsibility for weakness. But I think it's quite the opposite." Maya was taken aback by his words. "Most people don't see it that way," she said quietly. He smiled, that same calm confidence in his eyes. "Well, most people are wrong." She let out a small laugh, the first real one that morning. It felt strange but comforting. He glanced at her resume again, scanning the details. "You've got quite an impressive background, Maya Taylor. Marketing, right?" Her eyebrows lifted slightly. "Yes, I was a senior coordinator before I had to step away." He nodded. "I see. What made you apply here?" She hesitated, then spoke honestly. "I want to start over. I want to prove to myself, and to my son, that we can build a better life." For a brief moment, their eyes met, and Maya felt seen, truly seen, in a way that she hadn't in a long time. "Well," the man said, handing her resume back carefully, "sometimes the right opportunity just needs to find the right person." He smiled faintly, almost knowingly. "Don't give up, Ms. Taylor." She thanked him, unaware that she had just spoken to Daniel Carter, the very CEO of the company that had just rejected her. As Maya led Ethan out of the building, the morning sunlight washed over them. She felt lighter, as if a small spark of hope had been reignited. Behind her, Daniel stood near the lobby window, watching her leave, thoughtful. He turned to the receptionist and asked, "Who was that woman who just left?" The receptionist flipped through her notes. "Maya Taylor. She had an interview for the marketing position." Daniel's lips curved into a faint smile. "Interesting. Schedule a meeting with her for tomorrow morning. I'd like to review the candidates personally." As he walked away, his mind replayed her quiet strength, her honesty, and the small boy's proud words, "I'm her lucky charm." For Maya, that day had ended in rejection. But destiny had already begun to write a different ending, one that neither of them could see coming yet. The phone call came early the next morning, just as Maya was packing Ethan's lunch for school. The screen flashed with an unknown number, and for a brief second, she hesitated. Another bill collector, perhaps, or another polite rejection. Still, she answered, forcing her voice to sound calm. "Hello, this is Maya." "Good morning, Ms. Taylor," came a polite female voice. "This is from Carter Enterprises. Mr. Daniel Carter would like to schedule a follow-up interview with you today, if possible. Maya froze, her heart skipping a beat. Mr. Carter, she repeated, uncertain if she had heard right. Yes, the CEO himself, the woman confirmed. Would you be available at 11 a.m.? Yes, of course, Maya said quickly, her voice trembling with disbelief. After the call ended, she stood still for a long moment, staring at the wall. It didn't make sense. Why would the CEO want to meet her after what happened yesterday? But there was no time to question it. She hurried to get ready, dropping Ethan off at her neighbor's apartment, an older lady who adored him, and promising to be back soon. By the time Maya arrived at Carter Enterprises again, her nerves were a storm beneath her calm exterior. This time, though, she wasn't dragging shame or anxiety behind her. She walked taller, holding on to a fragile sense of purpose. When the receptionist saw her, she looked surprised but quickly ushered her toward the conference room on the top floor. When Maya entered, her breath caught. Seated at the head of the table was the same man from the lobby, the one who had picked up her resume, the one who had spoken to her with kindness. He was the CEO. Ms. Taylor, he greeted, standing as she entered. His voice carried that same calm warmth. It's good to see you again. Maya blinked, speechless for a moment. You're Mr. Carter. He nodded with a small smile. Guilty as charged. He gestured for her to sit. I hope you don't mind the surprise. I came across your resume yesterday, and something told me I needed to know more about you. Her cheeks flushed slightly, her fingers tightening on the edge of her folder. I appreciate the chance, sir. I didn't expect this. Daniel leaned forward slightly, his gaze steady but encouraging. Yesterday, I saw someone who refused to give up, even when things didn't go her way. That kind of determination is rare. He paused. Tell me, Maya, what would you do differently if you were given a real chance? Here, Maya took a deep breath. The nervousness faded as her passion took over. Sir, I've studied your company for weeks. Carter Enterprises has a brilliant foundation, but your marketing doesn't connect emotionally with people anymore. It's all numbers, not stories. If given the opportunity, I'd build campaigns that focus on people's experiences, their struggles, their hopes. Because emotion sells better than perfection. Daniel nodded slowly, visibly impressed. That's a strong answer. Encouraged, she continued. I may not have the perfect situation at home, but I have learned how to manage pressure, meet deadlines, and adapt to chaos. Being a single mom has taught me discipline, patience, and resilience, all of which I'd bring to this role. There was a brief silence in the room. Then Daniel leaned back, smiling. Ms. Taylor, that was probably the most honest and passionate answer I've heard in a long time. The HR manager, seated awkwardly in the corner, looked flustered. She had been silent the entire time, avoiding Daniel's gaze. But now, he turned to her. Tell me, Ms. Rhodes, was there any reason this candidate wasn't shortlisted yesterday? The HR swallowed. She brought her child to the interview, sir. It seemed unprofessional. Daniel's eyes hardened, but his voice remained calm. Unprofessional, or inconvenient for your expectations. He let the question hang in the air. You see, Ms. Rhodes, leadership isn't about perfection, it's about understanding people's realities. If someone can manage life with that kind of grace, they can manage anything we throw at them. He turned back to Maya. You're exactly the kind of person we need here. For a moment, she couldn't speak. Her throat tightened as emotion rushed through her. Thank you, sir, she whispered, tears glistening in her eyes. Daniel smiled gently. Welcome to Carter Enterprises, Ms. Taylor. As she left the building later that day, clutching her offer letter, Maya's steps felt lighter. She called Ethan as soon as she stepped outside. Mommy got the job, she said breathlessly. From the other end came his excited little voice, really? I told you I'm your lucky charm. Maya laughed, her eyes wet with joy. You really are, baby. You really are. The morning sun filtered through the glass walls of Carter Enterprises, filling Maya's new office with a golden glow. She stood by the window, staring down at the city skyline, still half expecting to wake up and find it all a dream. The nameplate on her desk gleamed softly. Maya Taylor, Project Manager. Just seeing it made her chest tighten with gratitude. The past few weeks had been a whirlwind. Her days were now filled with meetings, brainstorming sessions, and deadlines. But every morning, when she dropped Ethan off at school, she reminded herself of that moment she nearly walked away, when she'd felt defeated, judged, and invisible. And then the memory of Daniel Carter's words would echo in her mind. Sometimes, people fail to see potential when it's right in front of them. Today, Daniel stopped by her office unexpectedly. He walked in without the usual air of formality that came with CEOs. His easy smile still surprised her. "Settling in all right?" he asked, glancing around at the neatly arranged papers on her desk. Maya smiled, pushing back her chair. "Still feels a bit unreal, to be honest. But yes, everything's going well." Daniel nodded approvingly. "I've seen your initial project drafts. Impressive work. The new campaign direction feels alive, human. You've managed to capture something most teams overlook." Her cheeks flushed slightly. "Thank you. I just wanted to create something people could feel connected to. Something that tells a story." He leaned against the edge of her desk, arms folded. "You've done exactly that. And you've inspired something else in the process." Maya tilted her head. "What do you mean?" Daniel's tone softened. "Yesterday, I presented a new company initiative to the board. We're setting up a family support policy, flexible hours for single parents, in-office childcare options, and emergency assistance. Your story reminded me how easy it is for companies to lose sight of humanity in the chase for perfection." Maya blinked, overwhelmed. "You did that, because of me." He smiled modestly. "Because of what you represent. You reminded us that strength doesn't always wear a suit. Sometimes it wears a mother's heart." For a moment, the room fell silent except for the hum of the city outside. Maya swallowed hard, her voice trembling slightly. "I don't know what to say. Thank you, Mr. Carter, for believing in me when no one else did." Daniel shook his head gently. "You earned this, Maya. I just opened the door. You walked through it." They shared a quiet smile before he left her office, leaving her standing there, a lump forming in her throat. That evening, Maya arrived at Ethan's school. As soon as he spotted her, he sprinted across the playground and jumped into her arms. "Mommy, did you have a good day at work?" he asked breathlessly. "The best one yet," she said, hugging him tightly. "Guess what? My company's going to help moms like me now, so they don't have to choose between work and their kids." Ethan looked up at her with wide eyes. "Like superheroes." She laughed softly. "Exactly like superheroes." They walked hand in hand down the quiet street, the sun melting into shades of orange and pink behind them. The struggles, the sleepless nights, the judgment, all of it had led her here. Every step she took now felt lighter, not because life was easy, but because she had finally found her place. When they reached home, Maya placed her new ID badge on the kitchen counter. Ethan climbed onto her lap as she sank into the couch. "Are you happy now, Mommy?" he asked in a small voice. Maya kissed his forehead, her eyes glistening. "Happier than I've been in a long time. You and we did this together." He giggled. "I told you I was your lucky charm." She smiled through her tears, brushing his hair aside. "You're more than that, baby. You're my reason." Outside, the city lights began to shimmer, marking the end of a day that had started like any other, but ended with hope reborn. In the glow of that tiny apartment, a single mom and her little boy sat together, not as survivors anymore, but as a promise that love, persistence, and kindness could rewrite any story. And somewhere across town, in his own quiet office, Daniel Carter watched the last rays of sun fade behind the skyline. A small smile touched his lips as he remembered Maya's strength. Sometimes, he murmured to himself, the best business decisions come straight from the heart.